Well, hello, People Magazine. I'm Barbara Eden.
Barbara Eden's sweet smile hid a lifetime of secrets. America knew her as the innocent Jeannie in Pink, but behind the cameras was a different story. Her co-star, Larry Hagman, terrorized her daily with violent outbursts and crude behavior. The network forced her to hide parts of her body they called too dangerous for TV. She suffered a stillborn child and kept working while grieving. Her son battled addiction from age 9. Her second husband physically abused her for years. The wholesome image was just an act. The real Barbara Eden survived horrors that would break most people. Barbara Eden's story begins in Tucson, in a small house where every coin mattered. She was born on August 23, 1931, and her parents tried their best to stretch what little they had during the long shadow of the Great Depression. Toys were rare. Treats were rare. Still, her mother filled the rooms with music. Alice would hum and sing even when the cupboards were nearly empty. And that sound settled deep inside Barbara before she even understood why it mattered. Then things shifted again when she was 3. Her parents divorced, and she moved with her mother to San Francisco's Parkside neighborhood. A new marriage came soon after, and Barbara gained a half-sister. Money stayed tight, but the home stayed full of songs and small stories about strength. Those early melodies never left her. Her childhood in Parkside carried a rhythm of its own. Barbara listened to her mother sing every night, and she felt her world widen as she learned her family's long history in San Francisco. Her grandmother had arrived by covered wagon. Her grandfather came on a clipper ship. She felt like the city lived inside her bones. At 8, she sang her first solo in the church choir, and the applause made her heart race in a way she still remembered decades later. That moment pushed her closer to the stage. As a teenager, she joined local bands, performing under the bright lights at places she once only dreamed of. Band leaders like Howard Fredericks and Freddie Martin guided her through those early nights. She earned small amounts, but every song gave her a new kind of courage. The choir had built her confidence. The bands sharpened it. Slowly, these pieces came together and pointed her toward a future she could almost touch. By 16, she was ready for something bigger. She studied voice at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music under Paulina Giovannini and trained in acting at the Elizabeth Holloway School of Theater. She moved through both worlds at once, learning how to hold a note and how to fill a room with silence. After graduating from Abraham Lincoln High School in 1949, she spent a year studying theater at City College of San Francisco. These places shaped her into someone who believed she might belong in front of a camera. When she became Miss San Francisco in 1951, she used the name Barbara Huffman, and that crown opened doors she had not expected. She entered the Miss California pageant the same year. She did not win, but the exposure lit a path toward Hollywood. Soon she was being noticed for her looks, her voice, and the way she carried herself. It was enough to make her pack her bags and head to Los Angeles by 1954. Life in Los Angeles was anything but glamorous at first. She took whatever jobs she could find. She worked in a bank. She danced as a chorus girl at Cairo's on Sunset Boulevard for about $75 a week. Nights at Cairo's brought a different kind of education. She stood under hot lights beside women chasing similar dreams and learned how to move with confidence even when her feet hurt and her paycheck barely covered rent. When she sang at nightclubs in the Bay Area, she earned modest amounts and returned home tired but determined. These experiences made her realize that singing alone might not be enough to build a future, so she turned more fully toward acting. Modeling jobs that paid around $100 a session helped her survive while she waited for auditions. Bit by bit, she pushed forward. Everything truly began to shift when she started landing small roles. In 1955, she appeared on The Johnny Carson Show as an uncredited singer. Soon she was getting guest spots on shows like Burke's Law and other early television programs that helped her build a resume. These steps were small but steady, and they helped her earn her first real Hollywood contract. In 1956, She signed with 20th Century Fox. Her film debut came that same year in Back from Eternity. The role was tiny, just one of several passengers caught in a plane crash, but it was a doorway. The movie was released on November 28, 1956, and with that, she officially stepped into Hollywood. More work followed. Between 1957 and 1959, she starred as Loco Dempsey in the television version of How to Marry a Millionaire. The show ran from October 7, 1957 to August 20, 1959, and produced 78 episodes. Her lively personality shaped the comedy and helped her gain a real fan base. She later said the show taught her the importance of timing, something she carried into every role afterward. In 1958, she played a nightclub singer in The Seven Little Foys, a vibrant biopic starring Bob Hope. Her scenes mixed song and dance, and audiences finally saw her range. Then, in December 1960, came something even bigger. She played Rosalind Pierce opposite Elvis Presley in Flaming Star. Their chemistry, their scenes on horseback, even their kisses became part of Hollywood chatter. Suddenly, people everywhere knew her name. She remembered Elvis as warm, focused, and surprisingly serious about the work. Between takes, he often sang with his family, soft moments that balanced the heaviness of the story. Her career kept expanding. In 1961, she appeared in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea as a mysterious figure emerging from the sea. It was a short role, but a striking one that showed she could step into strangers' worlds without losing her presence. Then came 5 Weeks in a Balloon in December 1962. She played Susan Vickery, a brave young woman thrown into a wild adventure across Africa. The film mixed humor and danger, and placed her in the center of sweeping scenes that tested her ability to handle action and charm at the same time. By 1964, she found herself stepping into something magical without even realizing how important it would become. She played Sylvia Kenton in The Brass Bottle, a modern woman thrown into chaos when a genie disrupts her life. The film was lighthearted and fun, filled with supernatural surprises. Producer Sidney Sheldon saw her in this role and instantly knew she was his Jeannie. He cast her in I Dream of Jeannie soon after, and the character that would define her career was born. Her climb had been slow, sometimes painful, sometimes bright, but each step carried her forward. From singing in a church choir at 8, to crossing Africa in a hot air balloon in 1962, to touching a genie bottle in 1964, she moved through her life like someone who refused to let circumstances decide her future. Barbara Eden stepped into the I Love Lucy world in April 1957, when she was just 25. And the moment she appeared in Season 6, Episode 25, something shifted around her. She played the homely niece, who turns out to be breathtaking, and the way she carried that reveal made every man on screen stare and every woman tighten with jealousy. Lucille Ball watched her closely during rehearsals and noticed every little thing she did. Ball loved her timing, her warmth, her control, and she even offered her a Desilu contract that same day. But Eden had already signed with 20th Century Fox only hours earlier, so she had to decline. Still, she kept thinking about how gently Ball treated her, and how those few days on set taught her that talent meant nothing if you did not protect it with humility. That moment opened a door for her and showed her what the real Hollywood machine looked like up close, loud and bright and full of pressure. Years later, in August 1964, she found herself on Hawaiian shores for Ride the Wild Surf, and the timing could not have been wilder. Waimea Bay, Sunset Beach, Kawela Bay, all of them were roaring with some of the most dangerous waves surfers had ever seen. Eden played Augie Poole, and the film captured those waves without tricks. The original director, Art Napoleon, was fired in March 1964, and everything he shot was thrown away. Columbia Pictures brought in Don Taylor and told everyone to start again. Real surfers like Mickey Dora and Greg Knoll tackled the actual waves while cameras rolled, the ocean towering so high some crew members were afraid to even stand near the beach. Eden's spirit fit right into the surf world. She laughed with the cast, held her ground when the tide came up too close, and somehow made the whole film feel more honest. That sincerity later turned the movie into a small cult treasure. In that same year, she walked onto The Danny Thomas Show for a musical episode filled with legends like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Andy Griffith. She sang, she danced, she joked with perfect timing, and the stage lights caught something new in her. So many famous faces stood around her, and she still managed to shine without pushing for space. The theme was the wonderful world of burlesque, and she moved through each number like she had been doing it all her life. NBC scouts were watching from the back rows, and they took note. That performance helped convince Hollywood she was more than a pretty face and more than a sitcom guest. She could sing, she could act, she could hold a room full of giants. People still talk about her costume battles. Jeannie's outfit became iconic, but the rules behind it were strict. NBC refused to let her show her navel in the 1960s, so the costume team created high-waisted harem pants with enough silk inside to hide everything they thought was too daring. Rumors spread later that she wore a plug, but she said again and again that it never happened. She said nobody on set cared as much as the gossip writers did. Even so, the network kept pushing for more coverage and more fabric, worried about what a single inch of skin would do on screen. Those choices shaped not only her look, but also decades of TV modesty and censorship. The timing of her life often collided with her work. On the same day I Dream of Jeannie was sold to NBC, she found out she was pregnant with her son, Matthew. The producers panicked at first, because they feared they would need a new lead, but they worked with her. They filmed the first 13 episodes before her pregnancy showed too much. Then, they hid her behind veils, props, even a tire wrapped in towels tucked into her costume. She still moved lightly on screen, and viewers had no idea she was expecting until after Matthew was born on August 29, 1965. The crew protected her, and she protected the character, and together, they made something seamless. Even the pilot surprised everyone. It had been planned as a black and white show, but creator Sidney Sheldon believed it needed color. He paid $400 per episode out of his own pocket. The change brought the purple bottle to life and made the magic sparkle in a way black and white never could. The pilot aired in color on December 18, 1965, just 3 months after the series premiere. And after that, the show carried that bright tone into every episode. Behind the scenes, the cast lived inside a strange dance of tension and chemistry. Larry Hagman, who played Tony Nelson, took the brunt of it. He struggled with mood swings and jealousy because Eden was quickly becoming the center of attention. Some days, he would throw scripts, complain loudly, or walk off set. Eden stayed steady. Bill Daly and Hayden Rourke helped keep the tone light when they could. Episodes like My Hero John showed how strong the ensemble could be when they all leaned into the comedy. Even with the tension, the magic that made the show work always returned once the cameras started rolling. Season 1 wrapped in 1966, and she came back after giving birth, ready to work again. The network came back too with more censorship concerns. They worried the costume implied too much sensuality. They wanted it to be looser, higher, safer. Eden kept pushing back gently and slowly. She changed what TV allowed women to wear. She showed that strength and charm could sit together without being toned down. By doing that, she helped future shows break free from those same rules. Then the ratings started climbing. In the 1965 to 1966 season, the show reached a Nielsen rating of 21.8 and landed at number 27. In November 1967, it reached a 12.4 rating and a 25 share, which was 41% higher than its nearest rival. Episodes like Gin Gin the Pied Piper drew fans in with music and magic and the glow of Eden's performance. Her work earned her Golden Globe nominations in 1967 and 1968, and her face became part of American living rooms. The show stayed in the top 30 more than once and built a legacy that carried long past its final season. But while the world adored her on screen, her private life brought deep pain. In 1967, she became pregnant again, and 7 months into it, she learned the baby had died in utero. Doctors told her she had to carry the fetus for 6 more weeks before delivering it stillborn. She kept working. She kept smiling. She never sought therapy, and later said that decision haunted her. The weight of that loss hurt her marriage, and by 1974, the marriage ended. Her son Matthew struggled as he grew older, and she sometimes wondered if all the sadness inside the home had seeped into him. The grief stayed with her forever, shaping her resilience. Larry Hagman's troubles also grew in the later seasons. His frustrations with the scripts turned into angry outbursts. He sometimes urinated on scripts he hated. Sometimes he drank champagne before filming because a therapist had told him it might calm him. Producers thought about firing him more than once, but Eden defended him every time. Even with the chaos, she stayed his friend long after the show ended in 1970. Her calm steadiness carried the set when things felt too heavy. Even off-set, she faced awkward moments. In 1968, during a Vegas crossover performance, Tom Jones flirted with her while they were both married. He invited her to spend the night with him, and when she reminded him she was married, he laughed and said he was too. She turned him down without hesitation and kept her reputation intact. She later spoke about it with a kind of amused honesty. He pushed. She stayed firm. It told a lot about who she was. Jeannie never spun off into another series, but the producers tried to connect it with shows like Bewitched and the Beverly Hillbillies. None of the crossovers happened, but the merchandise exploded anyway. The Genie bottle became an icon. Replicas still sell today for as much as $199. Fans bought shirts, comics, action figures, and even a 1991 reunion special kept the magic alive. People kept her image on shelves and in memories long after the show ended. Then came the naval scandal in 1969. A TV Guide article pointed out that her belly button was always covered, and suddenly fans wrote letters asking why. Rumors swirled, debates spread, and even though she kept saying it was all silly, the fuss did not stop. The network stayed strict, the fans stayed curious, and her hidden navel became part of pop culture history. A funny reminder of what the 1960s allowed and what it feared. The final episode of I Dream of Jeannie aired on May 26, 1970, and it slipped onto television in a strangely quiet way. After 139 episodes since 1965, people expected something grand. Maybe a goodbye that felt earned, maybe even the wedding fans kept waiting for. Instead, they got Tony's cousin Arvel pulling everyone into a canned chili scheme. Jeannie cleaned up the mess with a blink, and the story faded out without the feeling that anything had really ended. Barbara Eden had already spoken against the forced marriage plot in Season 5 because she felt it ruined what made the show sweet, and fans agreed as the ratings began to fall. Once the finale aired, NBC simply chose not to renew the series. It felt like an era closing without a curtain call, and even though reunion movies came later in 1985 and 1991, the original magic never fully returned. Larry Hagman did not come back for both, which made the silence around the original ending feel even louder. Around the same time, things at home were shifting. Barbara Eden had married Michael Ansara in 1958, and for years they were a strong pair. But as her career raced forward with I Dream of Jeannie, his roles grew fewer. By 1970, the gap between their incomes widened, and the pressure pushed its way into their marriage. Ansara felt trapped in the roles Hollywood kept giving him, while she worked long hours and became more famous every year. Then they faced the loss of their second child, and the grief changed everything. Eden described those months as a dark pit she could not climb out of. In 1974, she filed for divorce even though Ansara wanted to save the marriage. They stayed close friends afterward, all the way until his death in 2013, but their son Matthew, born in 1964, carried the scars of those early years. His struggle with addiction began young and followed him through life, leaving Eden with fears she could never shake. People sometimes believed Eden had feuded with Elizabeth Montgomery from Bewitched because their shows competed for ratings in the late 1960s. The rumor grew like wildfire even though the two women barely crossed paths. They shared the same lot at Columbia Pictures and mostly ran into each other early in the mornings during makeup. Eden later said they were always polite, always warm, and never rivals in real life. Producers pushed the false narrative because a magical rivalry made for better headlines. Montgomery never publicly responded before she died in 1995, and Eden has repeated many times that nothing unpleasant ever existed between them. They were simply two women doing their work at the same time, both pregnant during moments of filming, both navigating the demands of television without space for petty battles. Then came 1978 and the film Harper Valley PTA, where Eden played Stella Johnson. The movie had its roots in the 1971 hit song, and it pulled in $14 million at the box office. Stella was sharp and bold, confronting her town's hypocrisy with a confidence that surprised the people who only knew Eden as Jeannie. She exposed alcoholism, gambling, and other scandals after the PTA scolded her for rumors they did not bother to verify. The plot even included thugs hired to kidnap her friend Skeeter, though their scheme fell apart. The movie premiered on August 4, 1978, and earned her a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical. It marked the first true moment where she shifted from the bottle to the real world in the eyes of fans. Because the film did so well, NBC created a TV series in 1981 based on Harper Valley PTA. Eden produced it and starred as Stella again. It ran from 1981 to 1982 for 16 episodes. Each one was about 30 minutes and mixed humor with quick bursts of small-town drama. In one storyline, the PTA believed Stella was pregnant and panicked about who should marry her to save the town's image. In another episode, a clumsy con man held the board hostage during a failed bank robbery, demanding $100,000 and a 747. The show only lasted one season due to slipping ratings, but it gained a cult following that stayed loyal through the years. In 1985, she returned to Jeannie for I Dream of Jeannie, 15 years later. It aired on November 18th and reached 20 million viewers on its premiere night. Jeannie was older, living in the suburbs, raising a family with Tony, and still sprinkling magic around the house. The story followed their son TJ and a magical accident that turned everything upside down for a while. Larry Hagman returned as Tony, though their son was played by someone new. Critics noted that the chemistry did not feel exactly the same, but the nostalgia was strong enough that fans enjoyed it anyway. Eden's charm carried it, reminding people why she had become a household name. In 1991, she joined the cast of Dallas in its final season. She played Leanne de la Vega, an oil tycoon with plans that threatened the Ewing family, and her first appearance came in the episode Requiem for a Queen on November 16, 1991. This return to the screen brought her back alongside Larry Hagman, though in a very different dynamic. Her character was cunning and stylish, adding a spark to the last stretch of the show. It became one of her final major TV roles before she shifted into stage work and guest appearances. During the 1980s, she also traveled across the country performing in musical comedies. Her most celebrated run came with Kismet, where she played Scheherazade. From 1984 to 1986, she toured major cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. The production cost around $2 million and showcased her voice and presence in a way television rarely allowed. Audiences filled theaters, and the praise followed her from coast to coast. In 1988, she starred in The Secret Life of Kathy McCormick, a TV movie produced by her own company, Me Bar Productions. It aired on February 15th on CBS. The story centered on a woman who uncovers corporate espionage and finds herself tangled in danger. With a 90-minute runtime and a more serious tone than her usual work, it showed how comfortable she was stepping outside comedy. Ratings were solid, and the film strengthened her identity as both actress and producer. Her theater comeback continued into the 1990s. She took on the role of Crystal Allen in The Women, a national tour that lasted nearly 2 years. She performed in major venues like the Krieger Theater in Washington, D.C., and the Pasadena Playhouse in California. Critics admired how she shifted from Jeannie's light-hearted tone to a sharp, calculating character with real emotional weight. The tour revived her connection with live audiences and proved she had far more depth than people had ever realized. In 1997, she appeared on Boy Meets World as Rachel, a warm and quirky aunt who offered gentle guidance to the young cast. The episode aired on October 3rd during Season 4. There were playful nods to her past, little hints of magic, and a soft charm that made the episode memorable for both longtime fans and new ones discovering her for the first time. Everything changed in 2001 when her son Matthew died at age 35 from a heroin overdose. His addiction had followed him for years, beginning in his teens and slowly tearing apart any sense of stability. He had been exposed to drugs at just 9 years old, and Eden carried the guilt of that knowledge for the rest of her life. After his death, she became an outspoken advocate for drug prevention. She visited schools and community centers, spoke on networks like Fox News, and shared her pain openly so others might feel less alone. Her honesty reached thousands of families and helped break the silence around addiction. In 2004, she appeared in the TV Land Confidential documentary. She reflected on her long history with CBS, NBC, Warner Brothers, and 20th Century Fox. She talked about how she survived the changing tides of the industry, how she grew from the setbacks, and how Jeannie shaped her life in ways both beautiful and heavy. It added a layer of depth to her legacy, showing a woman who stayed steady even when the world tried to limit her. By 2025, as Jeannie celebrated its 60th anniversary, Eden was 94 and surprisingly candid. She denied being a sex symbol and spoke instead about the pain behind the scenes, the pressure to stay perfect, the personal losses she carried while smiling for cameras. Interviews across the internet, including BuzzFeed features, showed her reflecting on how she worked through decades of change across 4 major studios. She spoke with a calm acceptance that only comes with age, explaining that her resilience mattered more than the magic bottle ever did. Her memoir, Jeannie Out of the Bottle, came out in 2011 and became a bestseller. She told stories from her childhood to her early fame, from her work with Elvis Presley in Flaming Star to the tension on sets where everything was expected to look effortless. She opened up about grief, including the stillbirth of a child and the emotional toll of Matthew's addiction. Readers connected to the honesty and the strength beneath her bright screen persona. And behind all of this was a personal life filled with heartbreaking turns. She married Michael Ansara in 1958, and their marriage lasted 16 years. But jealousy, career imbalance, and the pain of losing a child in 1971 pushed them apart. Their son, Matthew, grew up in the middle of that tension, exposed to drugs at 9, and his struggle followed him to the end. Eden later admitted she had lived with deep depression during those years. Her second marriage, to Charles Fagert in 1974, looked hopeful at first. Soon it twisted into something frightening. Fagert became known for heavy drinking and wild behavior, and Eden faced physical abuse behind closed doors. She felt trapped for years until she left in 1985. She has since said it was one of the most painful periods of her life. Her third marriage, to Jan Eickholtz in 1991, brought her something she had missed for years: quiet stability, patience, a partner who helped her heal. She had carried the secret of a stillborn son from 1967 for decades, burying her grief until it finally surfaced years later. Eickholtz stood with her as she worked through the memories she had pushed away to survive her early career. Even the public image people loved, the wholesome Jeannie, never told the whole story. In the 1970s, she posed for bold bikini shoots that startled fans but helped her reclaim control of her image. She once shared a moment with John F. Kennedy, where he slipped her his number at an airport, something she kept private for years. She endured Larry Hagman's often abusive behavior on set, in silence, because she felt she had to. And now, in her 90s, she speaks about it with clarity and courage, explaining how fame can hide a lifetime of bruises and triumphs.